Well, good evening. I'm Dr. Schwam, and I am the principal of Huron High School, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our ninth grade orientation, freshman orientation. I certainly wish we could be doing this in Huron and face-to-face, but as you know, the COVID pandemic prevents us from doing that. But we do want to share some important information for you tonight, and you'll be hearing some really good nuggets of information from people that are directly related to services for freshmen. Before I do that, though, or turn it over, I'd like to introduce our new ninth grade dean, Mr. Sal Barrientos. You might know him from most recently as an assistant principal at Skyline High School, and before that, he was an ELA teacher and department chair of the English department over at Scarlett Middle School. So we're very proud and pleased to have Mr. Barrientos join our team, and I'd like to welcome him and introduce him as your ninth grade dean. Welcome, Sal.
Thank you, Dr. Schwam. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody, kind of, sort of, and be with you in this at this time. And we want to thank everyone for being here virtually. We all know that it wasn't the way necessarily we had all hoped to start high school, but nonetheless, this is where we are. So tonight, we're going to go through some information, like Dr. Schwam said, and just to give you a taste of what's going to happen. We understand that everybody's looking for information, and there's so many questions out there, and so we wanted to provide just a little bit of information tonight to at least help you start getting ready, and hopefully our aim is to release some of that angst that you may be experiencing. Mr. Summerton, next slide. Before we begin, we wanted to bring to your attention some of the top priorities in our district. One of the top priorities is the health and safety of all of our AAPS students and staff. We're going to ask that you please, during this time of the pandemic and while our schools are closed, please wear your mask and make wise choices. Remember, community, it's not just about one person, it's about all of us being together. Next slide, please. Another top priority is that the Ann Arbor Public Schools is going to be embracing and caring for all of our students and staff. We want to make everyone feel welcomed, regardless of where you come from, regardless of what language you speak, what you look like. At Huron High School, there is a place for you. We're going to care for you, we're going to embrace you, and we're going to provide all the opportunities for you to have an exceptional educational experience. And part of our aim is also to embrace you, to help you feel socially connected. And in this day and age, in this virtual environment, that's hard to do. But our counselors, our support staff, our administration, our teachers, everyone at Huron High School is going to work their hardest to make sure that everyone is embraced. Next slide. As we move forward tonight, we're going to be going through several items. You can see our schedule there, all the way from introductions to closing. And we are going to be addressing some questions that were pre-submitted before tonight's presentation. But as you can see, there's a lesson title there, The Welcoming of Parents and Students from the class of 2024. Our content goal tonight is to learn what you need to know about starting high school at Huron, especially given our virtual environment. And then our language goal for tonight is everybody learns how to pronounce Schoology. Our counselors and I felt it was important. This is going to be something that everybody's going to need to know and know how to pronounce. So at home right now, just say it the right way, Schoology. All right. Parents, we also wanted to be very deliberate in our presentation tonight. What you're seeing in front of you is a template that will be used across all disciplines when providing the starting off assignment or lesson for that day. This is why it says daily plan at the top. All schools are going to be deliberate with having a very similar and consistent lesson plan template moving forward. This is part of our reimagined plan in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Next slide. One of the things we're also going to do is we're also going to be have the kids more involved in what's going on. So tonight, I'm going to read a daily message for you. I'm going to read all the words that are black. I'm going to ask you at home to please read every word that is bold or not black. Here we go. Hey there, freshmen. Just like that, middle school is over. What an unexpected way to end the school year, spend the summer, and now start the new school year. Today, we are going to talk about your items about starting high school at Huron, especially in within. Outstanding. Thank you. Next slide, please. At this time, I want to introduce our administrators of our building. As you can see, she started us off tonight. Dr. Schwam is our lead principal. Mr. Edmondson is one of our assistant principals. Mr. Michael Somerton, another assistant principal, and Mr. Tony Wyron is our athletic director and assistant principal. Next slide. And then, of course, there's me, your ninth grade dean, Mr. Barrientos. Now, if you can say Salvador Barrientos Jr., you are just that cool. Here are just a few facts about me. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran, served 6 years. I have 15 plus years of teaching behind me. That, like Dr. Schwam said, I am a former assistant principal and athletic director, and I also served as the ELA department chair at Scarlett Middle School. I've been married for more than 20 years. I have 2 young adult children, 4 kids, 2 of the adults. 2 of them are actually at Huron, an incoming freshman and a sophomore. We have our old man of the house, our dog Dexter, and we have always been a river rat family. My children have always gone through the Mitchell Scarlett Huron pathway. We are a very proud river rat family. Next slide. Moving forward, we want to tell you, parents in the expanding community, what makes the Huron difference? What is special about who we are? And to do that, we're going to have our NYP IB facilitator, Mr. Todd Newell, talk about what it means to have an international baccalaureate world school. Mr. Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Barrientos. Welcome, everyone. I thought, just like, actually, Mr. Somerton, could you go back a slide? I thought before I dive into the information I have to share for you, I would also share a little bit about my background. I am entering my 25th year in education, and I am a former physics teacher, both in a traditional school and an IB World School. And now I serve as an IB facilitator here at Huron, which means that I help coordinate the implementation of our IB programs of study. And also, like Mr. Barrientos, I am a Huron parent. I have a 10th grade student. And that means I was in your shoes last year when my son was making the transition to high school. Slide, please, Mr. Somerton. So this evening, I'm going to briefly share some information about one of the IB programs that we offer at Huron called the Middle Years Program, or MYP. And that's the program that all 9th and 10th grade students participate in at Huron. But before we look at that program in particular, I want to take you back to the beginnings of IB 6 years ago. These 5 pillars are 5 ideas that formed the foundation of all of the IB programs that exist in Ann Arbor. And that starts at the primary years program at Mitchell Elementary and comes up through Scarlett into Huron, where we offer the middle years program, the diploma program, and the career-related program. Tonight, we're going to focus on the middle years program because that's what's relevant for your students as they enter in the 9th grade. The longer you're here at Huron, you will get lots of information about the diploma program and the career-related program as your students advance into the 10th grade. One of the pillars that was very important that was added was that last one about access and equity. And we purposely chose these and intentionally made these the foundation of our IB programs so that we could deliver the best educational system to all of our students that enter our IB schools. Slide, please. We are looking at the program model for the middle years program, this red concentric circles. And this program model shows the what, the why, and the how of an IB education. The what is represented in that second outer circle, where we see the 8 subject groups like language and literature, science, math, arts, design. So these 8 subject groups represent the classes that are taught and what they learn in those classes. So the academic knowledge that a student is going to encounter in an IB class in Ann Arbor is the same as they would encounter in a non-IB class. So your student, incoming freshman at Huron, perhaps you have family that lives on the other side and you have a cousin that is going to be a 9th grade student entering Pioneer in the 9th grade. Both of those students are enrolled in biology class. And so they're going to be learning about DNA and RNA in both of their classes. So there's not really a difference in academic information in an IB class versus a non-IB class. The next 2 rings in the circle, if we move from outside to inside, are about the how students learn in IB classes. And this is really where IB classes start to look and feel different from non-IB classes. What we've tried to do, because there is some jargon in the diagram, we've tried to describe what those differences look like and feel like, and those are the bulleted items that you see on the right of the screen. So for example, if you have a student sitting in an MYP geometry class, not only are they going to learn about the content of geometry, they're also going to be asked to reflect on their learning while they're engaged with that content. And we place that content in a broader context with large concepts to help our students reach deeper levels of understanding. The innermost circle is the why IB schools teach and learn the way they do. We're going to talk more about that on the next slide. So these 10 traits, they are known as the IB learner profile, and they exist in all IB programs at all IB World schools. And the hope is that through teaching and learning in an IB program of study, our students will excel at these traits. One part of the mission of IB schools is to create a better and more peaceful world. And so we try to achieve that goal through intentionally adding these traits, and others like them, into our IB programs of study. At Huron, we don't just want to see our students leave being knowledgeable. We want them to also be caring and reflective and principled and all the other traits that you see in front of you. So why we want to teach the way we do is so that our students can be better at these 10 traits. And before I give the presentation back to Mr. Barrientos, I just wanted to say that this is only a brief introduction. You are going to learn more about the what, the how, and the why as the years go on. But if you do have additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you, and welcome to the River Rat family. Mr. Barrientos.
Thank you, Mr. Newell. I do want to interrupt the presentation for just a moment, Mr. Somerton. If there is a way to make you the host with a larger, or Dr. Schwam with a larger capacity, we have reached 300 and we still have participants wanting to get in. So if there is a way to do that, Mr. Somerton, if you could make that happen behind the scenes.
I think you have to click, you're the host. You have to click on Janet and make her the host. I don't know if that will up the number though.
500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Okay. Done. Thank you, everyone. We apologize for that brief interruption. At this time, we're going to keep moving forward now. Thank you again, Mr. Newell, for the IB information. Very important to all of our families coming in who are not in our feeder schools that are coming from the IB pathway. And we do have so many families. So very important that we all understand what it really truly means to be in an IB World School. Moving next to the next part, we are going to be talking about our weekly and daily schedules. The big picture. I know I've had a lot of emails come through about what's the week look like? What are block schedules? What does all that mean? So we're actually going to give you some visuals in the next few moments to have you understand what your week will look like and then what a day will look like. Mr. Somerton, next slide, please. Thank you. So a typical school week will look just like this. Mondays and Thursdays, you will have hours 1, 3, 5, and 7 with a required advisory after lunch. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, you will go to 2, 4, 6, and then again, the optional 7. Wednesdays will be assigned independent learning. This is an asynchronous learning time for all students across all of our high schools. Dr. Schwam, I wanted to ask you, was there anything you'd like to add to this, ma'am?
No, I just want to add that it is a change for high schools, but I really feel that for an IB World School where inquiry learning is the overarching kind of methodology that teachers use to teach and students learn, it really lends itself nicely to that. The fact that students have, I believe it's 105 minutes per each period, it just allows teachers to go deeper and broader with students. And so I think that our teachers will really embrace it, and I think students will really enjoy it. It also makes students focus on less in a particular day, and from a workload perspective, that's a real advantage.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Somerton, as your assistant principal, would you like to say anything about the weekly schedule?
The Reimagine work this summer was excellent. A lot of bright minds around this, and it's also something that's going to be at all of the comprehensive, all the high schools at the secondary level in Ann Arbor Public Schools. So something very consistent, makes it easier for students taking courses in other buildings, all the split enrolls or A2 virtual things that people want to do. So we're excited about the schedule and opportunities it gives for teaching and learning.
Outstanding. Thank you. The next part is about our typical school day. Here's what it will look like on a minute basis. To begin the school year, everybody will start school at 8:30 in the morning. You'll go through your first block, which will be 105 minutes. Your next block for another 105 minutes. Everybody will have a 30-minute lunch break. You'll then come back on for your advisory for 40 minutes. Then you will go into your next block, which is another 105 minutes. If you are a student and family who chooses to take a 7th-hour block, that will be 60 minutes, and that will be at the end of your day. Mr. Somerton, Dr. Schwam, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
Outstanding.
Good. Good.
During our first week of school, we're going to ease back into the routine of school. We know that it's been just this very nebulous time for everybody, for all families. We have so many families that just so many things happen to the family situation over the summer. And so at Ann Arbor Public Schools, what we decided to do was to ease it back in. And what we're going to do is we're going to start everybody with an advisory class on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the Friday that they come back. It will be half days of school. At this juncture, students will have an opportunity to connect with their teacher and really look at how do we navigate through Schoology? How do we find our classes? How do we find the things that we need to know about? And one of the most important things is, hey, how do I get into Schoology? How do I look at these things and how do I define them? Because it's going to be a whole new process for everyone. But you're going to see in just a few minutes how just easier it's going to be. And it's like most things. Parents, I'm a parent myself of many children. And let me tell you, trying to navigate everybody's, particular Google Classrooms and web pages and everything that we had to go through last spring, what we learned was that we need a one-stop place for our parents and for our kids. And Schoology provided us that opportunity. So this week, first week of school, we're actually going to be walking kids and families through that process. Dr. Swan, Mr. Somerton, would you have anything to add to the first week of school?
I just want to add that advisory is a real advantage to schools, whether it's middle schools, high schools, or elementary schools. It's a place where students and teachers meet and develop deep connections. It's a place where social emotional learning takes place, mentoring. And so while this is new for Huron and other high schools, advisory is not new and has a long-standing history of really providing that sense of belonging, connectedness for students in large environments or small, and that's particularly important while we're remote. And even if and when we come back in a hybrid or a face-to-face model, those connections and knowing someone on a more personal level is really an advantage to staying connected to school and school culture.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Swan. All right, so student schedules. Let's talk about that very quickly. I know that's one of the things I've received a lot of emails about. And as you can see on the very first prompt, students will view their school schedules via PowerSchool on September the 2nd. Those will be available. We got that word. And I just want to send a shout out to the counselors and to Mr. Edmondson, who's our admin over scheduling, Dr. Schwam, all of the team that went into putting together our schedules, because it is no easy task to go from one thing that we've done for a long time and then create it into a model that we needed to have moving forward that was best for all kids. And so thank you to those counselors and to the administration that worked on that. Schedules will be viewable via PowerSchool on September the 2nd. Schedule changes. If you see something in your schedule that you want to change, please look for the scheduling change request form that's found on the counseling website. Wait until September 2nd to have that happen, because we want to make sure that everybody's good to go on that. Okay.
Mr. Barrientos, can
Yeah.
I add? It's going to be available September 2nd at 3 p.m. So when you log on at 8 a.m. hoping to see your schedule, please do not be alarmed that it is not there. It will be available at 3 p.m. on September 2nd.
Thank you, Ms. Plaki. I appreciate that. That is a good thing to know. All right, moving forward, Schoology. All right, Schoology. This is going to be our new online platform that we are using for the Ann Arbor Public Schools. How do you get your courses and your Schoology link and all that information? Don't worry, parents. I know it's hard to say because there's so much going on. This information will be coming to your email. Now, as a former teacher, I'm going to say this. Students, I'm speaking directly to you. 8th graders who are about to be 9th graders. You need to start checking your email. Right now, I'm sure there's so many of you with like 300 messages in your inbox because you haven't looked at it maybe last spring. Look at your email. That is almost like a homework assignment before school starts. Check your email because there will be information coming to you. You will need to know how to get into there and look at your Google Drive, your Google spreadsheets, and your Gmail. We live in a virtual world, and those of us who know how to navigate through those will be able to send communication and be able to advocate for themselves. Dr. Schwam, Mr. Somerton, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
I would just say, having done summer school, students really acclimate to this quickly. It's your email address and email password, easy to log into. Once you've done it once, you never have to log in again. They'll just remember and always log you in. So as long as you're looking for that email, it's not in your spam, you read it completely, you'll be in and ready to go.
All right. And I'm going to interrupt just one more time. Dr. Schwam and Mr. Somerton, we do still have people who cannot get in. I did make
It seems to be capped at 300 right now,
It's
even though
capped
she's
at
the host.
300, so it didn't switch over to me, unfortunately. So
Didn't.
we can't let any more in.
I don't know if staff that are here that aren't going to be speaking, if they could log out to make room for other people.
Yeah. In addition to that, I also want to let everyone know this is being recorded. We will post this to our website, and this will be on for anyone who does not make it tonight, if they have to work or they could not get in or for whatever the case may be. We will make all this information available and accessible to all of our parents. So just want to say that out loud. Thank you. So the tutorials and information for Schoology. The district has put on their website all kinds of resources, not just for parents, but also for students to be able to get into Schoology and being able to access their classes. They spelled this out with YouTube tutorials to print out PDFs that can be used. You can put out right next to your computer and work through things. They've also supplied 1-800 numbers and different IT numbers that you can call. We are trying to make this as accessible as possible to families to be able to work through and navigate this. But this is what's going to make that first week of school so important. You have to make sure your kids are logged in, that they have the things that they need to be successful in looking and logging into Schoology. Mr. Somerton, for time's sake, we are going to go on to the next slide.
We were able to get a bunch more people in, another 15 or so.
Thank you, sir. The following is what it will look like in Schoology, parents, for a common lesson template. Now, all these things you see on the side here on your left-hand side with all the colored boxes, kids won't see all of those all at one time. But instead, it's going to be a common template and a common language used across all the classes. So when your child goes in, they'll know that, for example, the fourth box down with key vocabulary, it will be green and spelled out for them. Lesson plan agendas will be in yellow. All these things are going to be accessible to your children. And as you can read there, the lesson plan template will be used in Schoology, includes unified color coding and icons to support student learning. This will be used by all teachers. Mr. Somerton, next slide.
There you go.
Thank you. Again, where do I go if I can't get into my account? There will be all kinds of platforms available for you to log into. They are all accessible from the AAPS website. We are also going to be adding a lot of those links to our homepage at Huron High School and to our 9th grade Weebly page that will be set up here momentarily.
Hold on.
Are we good?
Yep, just clearing the drawings off.
All right, thank you. At this juncture, we want to invite our counselors in now to have a chance to talk about who they are, what they have at Huron High School, and talk about themselves. Ms. Pataki, you're still muted.
Hold on, I'm working on that. I have to find her now.
So I can start. So counselors offer lots of different types of support for our students. I guess I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Terry Castron, and I will be working with 9th and 11th graders this year. And my alphabet is H-I through P-E. And Ms. Pataki, are you able to? No? Okay.
Sorry, I'm going through the 300 names to try to find her. I'll get there in a second. Miss Nunley, I unmuted you if you'd like to say something while I find this.
Can you go to the next slide, Mr. Summerton?
Advance the slide. So while we're waiting for Ms. Pataki to be unmuted, you can see that her email is there for you to contact her. And she also works with 9th and 11th graders, and her alphabet is A through H-E. And then there's me, H-I through P-E. And Miss Nunley, I believe she cannot be unmuted as well. And her alpha is P-H through Z. And Miss Jamerson, I think she's unmuted.
I'm here. Yep. So my name is Rashonda Jamerson. I am the Rising Scholars Counselor. So if you're coming in as a 9th grade Rising Scholar, I will be your counselor. On the next
Okay,
screen,
Pataki's ready.
we've got Heather.
Hi there, good evening. So welcome 9th grade families. Again, I am Mrs. Pataki. I am A through HE. I'm entering my 13th year of education. This is my 3rd year at Huron. Very excited to have you guys. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm Miss Nunley. I'll be working with 9th graders, PH through Z. Like Miss Castron said, I'm really excited to meet all of you. I've had some interactions and it's been cool, not as hard as I thought it would be being remote and doing it virtually. We are your liaisons. We are your go-to people to try to help you through this journey. And so we'll be there through email. If you call us and leave a message, we'll get back to you. But we really want to be able to support your 9th graders throughout high school and help them achieve their goals.
It's 7 o'clock.
Next slide, please.
We have 3 other counselors that work with us. They're 10th and 12th grade counselors this year. It's Miss Caitlin Van Cleve, Miss Emily Michal, Miss Nina Perko, and because I get to work with all 4 grade levels, you see my picture again. Next slide. Your relationship with your counselor will prove to be one of your greatest resources. You can reach out to us to say hi, to share your accomplishments, to gain perspective on life situations, for help with school or life after school. That's what we're here for. So the big question is, how do you meet us? Well, you can send us an email. On the screen, you can see our email addresses listed. Our emails are also listed on our counseling page off the Huron website. Once we get back to the building, you'll have another great resource. Mr. Daryl Hayes is the counseling department office professional. He'll be able to help you as well.
So one of the things I hear from my upperclassmen a lot is, I wish I had known that 9th grade counted. And yes, it does count. It's different than middle school. When you are in high school, you're working towards credits, typically of 0.5 per class, and you're also working towards a GPA. And that is something that will follow you. All of that will be recorded on your academic record called a transcript. And a transcript is something that colleges will look at to assess you. Employers will look at it, and it's really a recording of all of the work that you've done throughout high school. So we want you to get off to a strong start and have a strong foundation so that you're not saying that in 11th and 12th grade.
So we do have an amazing support staff here at Huron as well. Us counselors will be an amazing resource to you. However, we do have some additional staff members that some of our students will become very close with as well. To begin with, we have Miss Burdick, who is our nurse on staff. We also have Mr. Lewis, who is our school psychologist. We do have 2 SISS social workers, and that's Miss Floyd and Miss Van E. And then we also have a general education social worker, which is Mr. Samaha. He does also coach basketball for us. And then we do have Miss Tucson, who is our behavior intervention specialist. So some of you may become very close with some of our additional staff members as well. So we wanted to make sure that you knew their faces.
At Huron, we are also fortunate to have community assistants. They play an important role in the day-to-day operations of our school. And once we return to face-to-face instruction, whether that's this year at some point or next year, you will get to know our community assistants quite well. You will often see them in the hallways, talking with students, directing students so that they can get to their classes promptly. They help students who look a little lost, which is probably 100% of us at one time or another. However, during our time away from the building, the CAs may call you to check in and connect with you, just to offer a little bit of help if they notice that you haven't been participating in your classes or showing up virtually. So if you receive a call from any of our community assistants, please know that they are there to help and stay connected with you. They are Mr. Brooks, Mr. Hugon, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Mack, Ms. Thomas, and Mr. Woodford. Next slide, please.
Thank you, counselors. We appreciate all of you and the work that you do. And I do want to, again, out loud, give a shout out to our counseling team who has just been working countless hours, making sure schedules are done, making sure that parents are getting responses back to emails, answering questions, and just being overall supportive to the entire building and to your students. So thank you, counseling team, for your support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. At this time, we also want to move into another wonderful resource. Now it's that fun part for me anyway, and I love seeing it. And we're going to talk about the kids and how do kids get involved and what are we doing with students. So we have a wonderful Link Crew program, and I want to please present Miss Colby, who is one of our Link Crew advisors, to talk a little bit about Link Crew.
Hold on, she probably muted herself. I just unmuted her. Jen, can you hear us?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
So I'm Jennifer Colby, and along with Marie Weibark and Sarah Gadwa, we advise our River Rat Link Crew program. Normally, right now, we'd be in the Dome Gym with your freshman student playing games and learning all about being a student at Huron. So this year, things are different. Our program connects each freshman with a junior and senior mentor to help them navigate the school year. And this year, we hope to work through our freshman advisory classes to help our freshman students interact with each other and with our Link Crew leaders to engage them with the larger school community and especially during this remote learning time. Now I'd like Mr. Somerton to play a short video that our current Link Crew leaders contributed to just a few days ago, and we gave them the prompt, what it means to be a river rat. And after that video, I'll pass it on to Mr. Barrientos.
Being a Huron River Rat means you get lots of new opportunities to discover and develop into who you want to be.
Being part of a really welcoming and unique community.
It means meeting your best friends.
It means you get to try new things. Making lasting connections with your peers and the faculty.
Someone who meets the everyday challenges of life, whether you're Black, Indian, or white, or Asian.
River Rat means being a part of a team and a community.
You're part of a supportive community that will always help you when challenges are thrown your way.
To be the best you that you could be.
You have people backing you with every choice you make through your high school career and beyond.
Being able to join a really wonderful group of hardworking individuals who are willing to accept you as you come.
Being given an opportunity to be part of a diverse and accepting community.
Means supporting everyone who walks through our doors.
It's a chance to discover your interests, meet really cool new people every year, and also just have a super awesome mascot.
I love these variety of programs because they help you determine what you want to be.
Having the opportunity to take lots of new classes and to find the topics that you're actually interested in.
It means finding new things to try. At Huron, there are a ton of different clubs, sports, and classes.
Being unapologetically you, in learning and growing from other people's ideas and expressing your own.
Push to be your best self, not only by the teachers, but the peers around you too.
Being part of a caring community, and it means trying to understand where everyone comes from, even if you don't know them very well.
Always being happy, spreading positivity.
It means being hardworking.
Being outgoing, but also maintaining academic excellence in the classroom.
Challenging yourself and always putting your best foot forward.
It means to be embraced into a diverse community full of wonderful, hardworking teachers.
Is to be creative.
It's about having fun and trying new things.
Having an absolutely beautiful view out of your some of your classrooms.
You're being introduced to a community where passion drives students to engage in tons of clubs and activities.
It's about welcoming diversity and meeting all different types of people who share interests with you.
That every hallway you walk down from now on is going to be curved, except for, of course, the ones over the arch.
About getting to experience and learn new things with some of your best and your newest friends. Welcome to the Rat Pack. It's going to be a great year.
Go Rats! Thank you. And going through the virtual world, I tell you, there are lots of ups and downs and things that we are continuing to learn. And so I thank you for everyone for your patience and for your sense of humor as we go through things. All right, the next part is that I know I also, as a former athletic director and athlete, Marine, I appreciate all the athletics and clubs, especially all the teams that Huron High School has to offer. And what we wanted to do was just give you some information regarding the athletics and clubs. Mr. Tony Wyron is our athletic director and assistant principal. If there are any questions regarding physicals, fees for your team, sports, you have questions about things, please feel free to email him or the athletics administrative assistant, Ms. Michelle Heine. And both email addresses are there, and they can also be found via our homepage. But please, we ask that you email them directly to answer any questions you have. Sports is just such a nebulous time right now, given everything that's going on in schools, and we know things change on a daily basis. So parents, please feel free to email them with any questions or concerns you may have. Next slide, Mr. Somerton. One of the last things we're going to talk about tonight is our PTSO. Our PTSO is a way for parents, for you to get involved and to be engaged in your child's educational experience. You can read right there their mission statement, and we bolded it because this part right here, when I talked to the president of the PTSO, one of the co-presidents as it were, she wanted me to really push the fact that it's meant to encourage parental involvement. Parents, one of the things that sometimes happens with us as we begin to have our children get older, we tend to think, well, they don't need us in school, or they don't need me to be involved. Quite the opposite is true. At this developmental stage for so many of our kids, they need us to not just be there for them, but to model and to be involved in their process. So we're going to encourage you, and we're going to challenge you to get involved in the PTSO. Next slide, Mr. Somerton. This year's PTSO Executive Board includes co-presidents Sarah McCullum and Lisa Schultz-Jellick, Vice President Angela Fort, co-treasurers Antoinette Jones and Laura O'Brien, Secretary Pam O'Neill, and then member at large, Ms. Lisa Edmondson. They do have a position open, which is the PTOC liaison. If you are interested in helping out with the PTSO, please see their webpage, which is located on the Huron homepage and also via the URL presented there. Thank you. Next slide. As we begin to close tonight's presentation, we just want to remind you and kind of bring this back full loop, parents. One of the major things, priorities in the Ann Arbor Public Schools is the health and safety of all Ann Arbor Public Schools staff and students. We ask to please wear your mask when you go somewhere. Please make wise choices with regards to who you are interacting with, making sure you're practicing proper hygiene. So remember, it's not just about you, it's about all of us and making sure that we all take care of each other as a River Rat family. Next slide. And again, a top priority is access and equity for all students, making sure that we embrace, we care for, and we educate, and we give those opportunities for that exceptional education through the lens of anti-racism for all students in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. This is something that Dr. Schwam has charged the staff with, to look through this and to make sure that we are doing all things we can for all students. Next slide, please.
So as we close, we understand that as parents, you have a choice. You could take your students anywhere in the county and outside of the county, and we don't take our roles lightly. It's a very honorable thing that we do, and we're honored to be able to work with your students. It's a new beginning for us all, a different type of beginning. And I just challenge students to bring the best versions of yourself to high school, and really, set some goals for yourself for who you want to be in 9th grade and who you want to be in high school. But it's going to be a great journey together. I promise you that.
Next slide, Mr. Somerton. All right. At this time, we want to address some of the questions that parents have posed to us this year, and really go through what we know to be true at this juncture. Mr. Somerton, there are some questions that I know you're going to want to answer, and there's some that I know I'm probably going to want to answer. Dr. Schwam, please feel free to jump in, ma'am, whenever you want to add anything else to this. But Mr. Somerton, what we want to do is just, we don't have to necessarily pull the screen up, but more of just take some of these questions as they are. We already went through them.
So I'll start reading them and then we have answers.
Sure.
Okay, first question from a student. For the classes that aren't available on A2 Virtual, for example, orchestra, would I take them with a teacher, or would I have to choose another class? Also, is it possible for some of my classes with a teacher to be with a teacher while some are on A2 Virtual? So students will have complete freedom in terms of A2 virtual classes and classes through Huron High School. They can have a mix of those, all of one, all of the other. So classes not available through A2 virtual are available through Huron High School. The last part of that question, for classes that I take in A2 virtual, would I choose both course A and B, or would I wait to choose course B in semester 2 registration? And the counselors may want to jump in on that. My understanding is that you'd sign up for semester 1 classes and then register for semester 2 in A2 virtual when the semester 2 classes open up. Am I right? I'm seeing heads nod. So
that is correct, but they can always consult with us and check with us if they're unsure.
And even just talking about all the different choices families have for the fall, your counselors have a wealth of information to help you make good decisions. So if you're considering changing your decision or aren't sure if your decision was registered correctly, contact your counselor and they can give you some information about that.
And
next
Ms.
question.
Can I just add to that? That is a really good question, because students don't want to sign up for A and B now, because they will be required to finish those in semester 1, the A and B. So they have to wait until the second. They would sign up for the first part, so geometry A or algebra 1A this semester, and then wait until semester 2 A2 virtual enrollment opens to sign up for the B portion.
Yeah, the other piece to keep in mind is that orchestra is a course that will be offered. So you wouldn't have to choose a different course if you wanted to do orchestra. You will have an opportunity to take that course teacher-led this semester.
Thank you, Ms. Jamerson. The second question, what will be the timings for sports practice after school, since school finishes at 4:30 with full 7 hours in the schedule? I think this question was before the timings were given out that we aren't going to be finishing at 4:30. But
well,
the question is just about timing for sports.
7th hour will finish around 4:30, but 7th hour is an optional hour. Our school day is 6 hours, and that ends, to my recollection, somewhere around 3:20. So a 7th hour is an optional hour for students, and you don't need to take that. I know that Mr. Wyron is looking, and we'll look at students who register for 7 hours. We'll do our best with sports, but it's not possible to start every sport practice at 4:30, if and when we can do practices face-to-face. And so there will be some choices that student athletes will have to make if that class is absolutely essential in 7th hour or not, or it's just an enhancement. So sometimes there's choices that you have to prioritize to determine which is your priority to make that choice, the 7th hour or to continue with the sports team. You know, I think that coaches are being asked to be flexible, but you do have to have enough practice in order to play games. And so it's kind of a balancing act. And so we'll see how that goes. But I know that there will be teams that will start practicing before 7th hour just to get everybody in places and spaces before it gets dark.
Gotcha. Next question, how do I submit my program choice for online learning? For example, I chose A2 Classroom Connect. When do I submit that choice?
So those choices should have been made. Parents should have made choices of A2 Connect or A2 Link or A2 Virtual. And if you didn't make that choice, you by default were placed in A2 Connect. That's the class where we're virtual now, or that's the program where we're virtual now. And when it's safe to go back to a hybrid model, we'll go back to a hybrid model. So if that's not feeling like the right fit, then I would reach out to your counselor. The other two options would be A2 Link, which is 100% virtual, taught by Huron High School students or Ann Arbor Public School teachers. And then, of course, A2 Virtual. There's a little bit of difference between A2 Virtual and A2 Link. A2 Virtual is really more self-paced. It's asynchronous learning, meaning you don't interact with the teacher every day. And there's more of a teacher check-in once a week. The A2 Link is synchronous learning, where a teacher actually interacts with you each of the days, and you're virtual. So you have choices, and if you have any questions about that, certainly reach out to your counselor. They can help clarify and help guide you to what is the right fit for your learning style.
Next question was, how will we get our student IDs?
At this point in time, we're not doing photographs. We've put that on hold. And so that's a conversation that one of the many conversations that we're having as we're doing things remotely and opening school. In my 31 years in education, this is the first time I've ever opened a school remotely. And so I don't have that answer for you right now, but I can tell you it's on our radar. And we're kind of kicking around a couple of options, but right now I don't have that answer to provide you, but I know it's important to you and it's important to us, and we'll work on getting you a solution to that.
The next question is from a parent. Where do I upload my child's info, vaccinations, birth certificate, etc., since it's not being collected in person? I'm so confused this year. She's in the system, but is coming in as school of choice, which complicates things. So we will be collecting, and Dr. Swift sent some information in an email that is very detailed. It's important that everyone goes to that email carefully, click every link and take all the information out of it. But there's a section on technology distribution. At that time, families will be able to bring paperwork for InfoSnap in. InfoSnap is the system we use to enter in information changes from year to year, or students new to the district can put all their information in InfoSnap. So we'll be there to collect this kind of information, vaccinations, birth certificates, pieces of paper, to get everyone set up for the fall. And there's information in her email about the dates for next week where that will happen at Huron High School. Okay, can we use personal devices instead of AAPS devices? And
the superintendent is really discouraging that. The Chromebooks, or they're Chromebooks, I believe, will be loaded with apps that students will use. And that was some of the challenge in the spring. We learned that some of the applications that students needed to use were not on their personal devices. So we're saying that even if you have personal devices at home, you should engage in the deployment of technology during the distribution.
Mr. Somerton, could you do me a favor, please? Could you stop sharing your screen so that the audience can see us as we are answering the questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot I had it up. Okay.
Thank you. Our next question, I believe, is for Mr. Newell. Mr. Newell, it says, my student is enrolled in Classroom Connect, but he is interested in possibly taking an extra credit course through A2 Virtual. It looks like it will be phys ed and PE. Does the A2 Virtual version of these courses meet the IB requirements?
So because the student is enrolled in Classroom Connect and will have presumably a full load at Huron through Huron classes, they'll have those 6 classes at Huron. That is all that is needed to be considered an IB student. Extra classes through A2 Virtual we don't look at those when we look at IB status. So because the student is saying, or the parent is saying that they're going to have their 6 classes through Classroom Connect, they're all set. They don't need to worry about anything.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do all Huron high school students receive a Chromebook for school, or one must be requested? Dr. Schramm mentioned this part, the tech rollout, and the devices are being made available to every student. That being said, it's possible to log into Schoology with a personal device. It's just we would encourage families to use the devices that the district has provided.
Yeah. And families also want to make the distinction that oftentimes what will happen, and it happens so often, even when we were in the brick and mortar setting with a regular school, was that if you go in through with a personal device, what often happens is you'll log into Google, or your son or daughter will log into Google under their personal email, and then you have accessibility problems. So, but with having a district technology, you will be able to log in via the district signed login. And so you'll have much more accessibility doing that. So again, like Dr. Schwam, I echo her sentiment, and as well as Mr. Somerton, go and please get a device for your child.
This next question kind of refers to that as well. If you have 2 children at Huron High School, or more children at home that are in different schools, you're going to want 1 device per child, because they will be online at the same time. So for me, with 9 children at home, I'd need 9 devices. So you're going to need 1 per child. Next question is, will Chromebooks be given to students for virtual learning? Yes, that will be the case, and more information is in Dr. Swift's email. My son has an opportunity to do some volunteer work once a week that will give him an opportunity to be out of the house with other good mentors face to face. Will he be able to work this out with his teachers, so he might be able to not be synchronous once after 2 p.m. or once a week? Dr. Schramm, you want to?
I would say that that's probably problematic, particularly with a block. So I would encourage, if you can arrange for that to happen on Wednesdays when teachers are not synchronous, that would be best. Otherwise, you're missing a significant block of instruction, particularly when we're in block. So if you can arrange for that to happen during the Wednesday asynchronous time while we're remote, that would be beneficial. But, you know, routinely missing a class will mean a lot of content that you'll miss, and I don't recommend it.
One thing to add to this, just from doing summer, is if there is a reason that you miss class, and obviously with the pandemic happening and all the different stressors on families, there are days you're going to miss class. All the sessions are recorded, and if you click conferences in Schoology, which our students will become very familiar with, you can go back and watch old lessons for the whole semester. So it's all in one spot, easy to access if you do miss. We'd like you to be there every day, but if you do, you can catch up. And then the last question is, how do we request a hotspot? There's a family help desk number. It's 997-1227. But that is also in Dr. Swift's email as well. You can find that phone number. It's also on the AAPS website. You can request to that number, and they'll get you a hotspot.
I believe that does it for our pre-submitted questions, Mr. Somerton.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Schwam, we want to thank you for providing us this opportunity tonight to be together with our community. Counselors, thank you. Mr. Newell, thank you. And everyone who took part tonight in making this presentation possible. Families, we know and we understand there's a lot more questions than probably what there are answers at this time, but please know that we are working to make sure that we have the best start we can to a virtual environment. I want to provide Dr. Schwam any closing comments, ma'am.
No, just thank you for joining us tonight. I know this is unprecedented times, and sometimes our delay in answers is that we want to get it right. We want to get our plans crisp and clean, and above all, when we put out a program or ask you to come to our campus, we are making sure that we're keeping our staff safe and you safe. So sometimes the delay in our communication to you is because we are putting together a plan that is very comprehensive with the goal of keeping everybody safe. So we appreciate your patience. We know moving to high school is a big deal. I have a grandson who's a 9th grader this year, and he's anxious because there's so many unanswered questions, and we get that. We'll get you the questions or the answers to those questions just as soon as we can. And we appreciate your patience, and we're really happy to welcome you to our River Rat family.
Absolutely.
I've got a question for you, Mr. Barrientos, before we go.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
will families access this video after this meeting?
Right.
Great question. This session is being recorded, so we are going to allow the opportunity for it to go up into the cloud, make sure it's all set. Myself and Mr. Somerton, along with Dr. Schwam, we'll have an opportunity to look over it, make sure everything is good to go, and then we will post this to our Huron 9th grade Weebly. And so the site there will be accessible by this weekend. Our goal, if I can get it out tomorrow, that's the goal. But we see sometimes the internet just plays with us differently. But thank you, Mr.
Brian, will we be able to send out the link to families?
Yes, we can actually, we can do that. Yes.
We'll send you the link so you can just click on the link to see it, so you don't actually have to go physically to our website.
Okay, very good.
Right.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, families, for being here. We're excited. We're rats.
Yeah, excited.
And if you
for
have
coming.
questions, please email us. That's probably the best way to get at. We're reading our email all day long, all night long. So that's the best way to reach us.
We're here to help, so reach out. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Nice seeing you all.
Good night.
Thank you.